Good morning, my name is Karen Kong and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada, and welcome to live crafting on Thursday. It used to be that Thursday, but it's been changed a little bit this year. I've been having crafting to go kits for the last couple months, and I'm taking a break this month because it's been super busy with dance competition season for my daughter. So I did take some time this week to make a card and to show it to you this week. It is um, cased because I don't know where my crafting mojo went. I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do for a Mother's Day card, and I could not come up with a design that I was happy with. And so I cased somebody. So I cased Mikaela Titheridge of the Crafty oINK pen, and I took her design and I made it into a Mother's Day card for myself. So I'm pulling out some retired stuff that I love. I love the peonies, and I know that my mother always likes bright colors and flowers, and the card has to stand up on its own to be able to be displayed. So those are the criteria I was working with. Um, and I thought I really wanted to use the peonies because I hadn't used them before for a card for her. So that's what we are doing today. So just give me a second while I get my computer up and running and so I can see your comments while we craft. If you're joining in for the first time, I would love it if you say hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. And chat with me, ask me questions, because it is more fun to have a conversation with you than just talking to myself. Sorry, I'm running a bit late this morning because I had some technical difficulties, because of course when you're about to go live, that's when you find out that an application needs to be updated or the settings are wrong. I don't know. So anyways, we are going to get going now. I've got my computer up and running, so let me just switch the camera over to my desktop. So if you're watching, just close your eyes while I reposition the camera. Here we go. And I'll just give you a quick overview of all the goodies that we're using today before we get started. Okay, so like I said, I brought out the Prized Peony set, and I had to, I did case it, but I changed it to make it into a Mother's Day card. And I don't have a Happy Mother's Day sentiment that I was happy to use. It didn't work for what I wanted it for, and so I had to create my own sentiment using the die cut letters and a sentiment from the, I think this is the Sending Smiles set, Love and Big Hugs. So I think that works as my Mother's Day card. But when I make my second card, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the original sentiment that Mikaela used on her card, which is My Thoughts Are With You. I believe that's the one. It's a little bit smaller, and I think it'll fit easier here. I was a little bit worried that this was going to overwhelm my flowers, but I think it worked out well. But I don't need two Mother's Day cards, so I am going to make the second card into something else. Okay, so let's get started. I'll give you a quick overview. We are using Melon Mambo and Bubble Bath and Granny Apple Green and Garden Green and Black, Gold, and White, and this is Mango Melody. So a whole pile of retired stuff. Oh, and underneath here is the, let me just get this name right. It's the paper square Vellum Doilies. So those were also, I think those were introduced around the same time as the peonies, and they have been in my stash for quite some time. So, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna have to sneeze. Oh, okay, sorry. It is spring here. I think Ontario's, or at least Ottawa, so far is getting real spring weather this week, so that means my allergies are starting to act up. And I'm gonna apologize in advance when I have to sneeze or run off screen to blow my nose, because that's inevitably gonna happen. Even though I'm taking allergy medication, it seems to still happen. Okay, so Prized Peony, Vellum Doilies. Oh, and this one is actually new. So I embossed the background with beautiful pattern embossing folder, which is, I believe, on clearance. So it's new to me, but it is actually retiring, and I think it is a wonderful background for this card. And I think that's all. So we can go ahead and start crafting. I'm going to make some room on my desktop. Just give me a second. And I'm going to bring in some gold ribbon too. Okay, so I already pre-made one of the flowers, okay? The peonies are not too difficult to assemble, but they do take a little bit of time, and plus I added some shading. So I'll show you how I did that. And actually, let's start with that. Let's start with the shading the flowers and putting it together. So what I did, in order to figure out where the shading lies, I actually assembled my flower first. So if you forget how to assemble the peony, it's actually really easy. Okay, so there's 4 die cuts, and you just go from biggest to smallest. Okay, so you take these and you just slide it into the little slits here. Okay, and then you look at the back and you match up the curves from the back. And that's how you know when the piece is in place. Okay, so that's where that one's supposed to be. And I'm going to do the same for this. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around, look at the back, and I'm going to line up all the pieces along the bottom so that the edges match. I think that's quite a brilliant strategy on the creator of this die set. So I put it together so I can see where I want to add the shading. With the bubble bath, I was trying to mimic a peony that was light pink but has the dark fuchsia or dark pink accents in it. It's like the shading, and it's I think it's very true to life, very close to the original, like the actual real flower. Okay, so that's how it pieces together. See how all the pieces here all line up right at the bottom edge. Okay, you can see that on the back. All right. Okay, so by doing that, I can see where these kind of line up. Here's these. Okay, so I took my pieces apart one by one, and I added the shading where I thought it belonged. Okay, and with the bubble bath, I actually tried using different ways to add the shading. Oh, I grabbed the wrong stuff. I have extra die cut pieces. Okay, so I used a blending brush to add the shading here, and ideally I would have had like a smaller one, because this is the head on this is quite large, so it was made it harder to be get into the more detailed areas. But I was able to make it work because I don't have a small one that's got this color, a similar pink on it already. So I didn't want to have to wash all my brushes. I've got a little bit avoiding that task because it's very, very time consuming. And I find you don't really need to do that if you're going to use it for the same family of colors. So I've kind of designated certain brushes for a family of greens, family of blues. So I'm trying to stick with that. So I don't have a little brush that works for that color family, but I added Melon Mambo to the bubble bath to achieve that deep pink. Okay. I'll tell you, I tried different methods of doing this. So the first time I tried this, I used the sponge dauber. Okay. So the sponge dauber worked out really well for the dark pink. When I added Melon Mambo ink to Melon Mambo paper, it looks good. It blends in well. It looks more blended. I don't know what other word to use. But with the bubble bath, it was absolutely obvious where I was sponging onto, and it did not look good. So that was my first attempt, okay? This is reality crafting. I'm showing you what happened behind the scenes. Okay, so the second time I did the blending, and then I thought, oh, I think it would look good if I added like water drops. So that's another technique to add some depth into your inking and your blending, and it did not work out for this. As you can see, there are like bright pink edges on my water drops, and that I didn't like how that looked. So that was my second flower. And so my last flower was the one that you see on the card, and I used the blending brush. I did not add any water, and that was it. Okay, so I don't see anybody, I don't see any comments in my feed, and this is what happened the last time I was live. For some reason, I was not getting live comments, which really sucks because it means I have to talk to myself, and I don't know what you guys are saying or if you're asking me any questions. So hopefully I can respond afterwards after the live, but it's really too bad that I can't see any comments right now. Okay, so that's basically an overview of the bubble bath with the Melon Mambo. You could use bubble bath on top of bubble bath to give a more subtle shading, but I wanted to mimic the real flower more closely, so I used Melon Mambo. Okay, so for the second flower, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to using the sponge dauber because it gives me a little bit more control over where I'm putting my ink. Okay, so here's my Melon Mambo ink pad, and I'm just going to disassemble this one layer at a time. So I can tell here that here's my edge, and I want my shading to appear close to where the slit is, right? The inside of the petal. So I'm going to add shading here, okay? And I will also probably add to kind of around almost the edges of the petals around here too. So let's take this one out. Okay, I have to blow my nose. I'm very sorry. Just give me a second. I'm just going to quickly go blow my nose. Oh, allergy season. Gotta love it. It means spring is coming. It means warmer weather is coming and flowers are coming. But in the meantime, I do have to blow my nose all the time. Okay, so let's take my sponge dauber. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm just going to pat it off on the side here because I don't want to start off with something, a big blob of ink necessarily. And I'm going to be light when I apply it so that I can just layer on the coloring and have control over how dark it is. Okay, so I'm just lightly patting along the slit here. Okay, so you can see it's not much at first. Let's add some more ink. And we'll keep patting it on. I wish I knew what was wrong with Facebook. I thought that was a one-time occurrence where I couldn't see the comments appearing, and it appears I'm having the same problem weeks later. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to do some digging perhaps online to see if I can find out why I can't see comments while I'm live. Okay. So there's the shading for the first one. So let's see if that looks good. I'm going to take this, put it back in, and adjust as necessary. So I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to take the next layer. Okay, so now when I take a look at where my flower is here, so I know I'm going to need to add some shading here, right, along the bottom to make it look darker. To follow the shading on the bottom layer. So let's pull out that the second layer of the peony. Okay, so I'm going to add my shading right around here, those bottom edges, where I believe the slit is, where it slides into and acts like the next layer of petals. Okay, so let's see how that looks. So it's a gradual process. So now I can see, okay, that looks like it's in the right spot, right? So it's kind of mimicking that there's a shadow in here where the petals meet, right? Okay, I'm probably going to extend that up just a little bit farther. And you can play with it as you build your flower. And you'll notice that there's also a little bit of shading here. But you can work on that as you build your flower and see how it looks, right? So yeah, so I like to add some shading here because if you see, like, it looks very plain here, and there's no depth to it, which looks kind of funny when you've done the bottom part. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading up here. Okay, so let's see how that looks. See, that adds depth, right? It adds depth to the flower. So I'm going to add a little bit more on this side so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for this layer as well. So let's add some shading here. I'm leaving the edges unshaded to mimic, like, the shadow does not reach all the way to the edges of the petal, so I'm not going to shade all the way to the edge. So let's look at how that seems. So it gives a little bit of depth behind there. Okay. So we're going to do, oh, I need to just pay attention to where the next layer of shadows is going to need. So it's going to be a little higher, so we'll have to go right up to almost the edge of the petal edge up there. So let's take this apart. Right, and I'm going to try to add it just along the edges here. A little bit trickier because it's getting smaller. The area I'm working with is getting smaller. Okay, I think that's good. And for the last one, same thing. I suspect it's going to be pretty up high because most of this is hidden. Let's just meet the bottoms here, and yes, I'm going to have to go pretty close to it. Let's try this. It really is a shame I cannot see your comments because I miss having the conversation with real live people. I think I'm just going to do the edges of these just to give it a little bit of definition, but I don't want to go down further, so all blending will just all mush together and you won't see any differences. Okay. All right, so let me just check how that looks, and then we'll start assembling the whole flower back together. So again, I'm just going to match the bottoms here. I think that's good. Okay, so when I put this flower together, I will assemble the whole thing and then I will apply glue afterwards, rather than trying to slide it in with glue on it, because I think that would be really messy. And I think this is easier. Okay, so just making sure all my edges are matched up. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over. Let's get some glue. And I'm going to glue it on piece by piece. Oh, sorry, like layer by layer. So I'm just going in between the first layer and the second layer. And I know I'm going to be covering this section. I'm kind of checking where my first and second layer meet up. And I'm just going to put a few dots of glue. And that should hold it together. Okay. And you don't want to put it too close to the edge so that it doesn't mush out. You want the glue coming out. Okay, so I'm going between the second and the third layer and I'm checking to see where they meet up. I think the next time I do a live, I may have a test live first to check if I can see comments, and then if it doesn't come up, I will try it again. But like I said, I'm gonna have to do some digging to see why it's not showing any comments first. Okay, so this is the last layer. Okay, if you can see, I'm just adding dots of glue in between the layers. And it doesn't need to be a lot because it's not like this flower is going to move anywhere. Okay, and then I actually do the back because the back here kind of lifts. So the back of the first layer and the last layer, kind of a sandwich. Okay. And the last thing to add is the stamen. I believe that's the right term. I'm just going to make sure that I have this slit open before I try to slide it in, and then yeah, that's open. I'm just going to add some glue. Okay, so I'm going to stick to the bottom half of this stamen because as I slide it, I imagine some of the glue is going to get pushed upward, and I'm going to use some tweezers to help me hold this. All right, so I'm just going to slide this in. There we go. Is that too far out? Maybe a little bit. Let's slide it in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that is the flower. And some people do curl the edges so that it gives a little bit more 3D effect. But I know this is going in the mail, and I will want to keep it flatter so that it's not too bulky inside the card. Okay, so here's my flowers. I'm done with those. I also have the leaves to assemble. I did do 3 out of the 4 already, but I just wanted to do the last one live on screen. So they have, for the peony flowers, it's like a shadow for each leaf. So when I'm working with something like this, when I have to layer 2 things, I just wanted to tell you a little tip. I actually flip it over like this, right? I line it up with how it's supposed to go on the image, and then I flip it over like this, because once I have the glue on, it's easy for me to pick it up and flip it over back on the right way. And I know it lines up instead of having to fiddle around with the orientation. And as well with these ones, specific shapes fit with specific leaves. So it's good to know that it fits the right, you're working with the right leaf. Okay, so I'm just going to put little dots. So now when I pick it up, I just flip it over and it makes it easier because I have my tweezers holding them in the right place for lining it up. Okay, so that's the 4 leaves that I needed for this card. Let's put the bulk of the card together before we tackle the sentiment. So let's move these aside. I'll bring back the base. So the base is just white. If you are watching for the first time, when I give the measurements, don't worry about writing them down. I will put them in the video description afterwards so that you can recreate your own version of this card. So this is a regular card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Just get my bone folder. Okay, and then the gold mat is 4 by 5 1/4, and then I've got a white mat on top of that, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, so that you have a 1/16 edge, 1/16 of an inch edge around your white mat. So you can go ahead and you know, glue these as is. But what I like to do, because gold paper tends to be a little bit more expensive, I like to cut the middle out. Okay, so that way you can use the middle section again for something else. And it's quite a large piece. So let's grab, you can use your paper trimmer to cut it out, but I happen to have a set of these stitched rectangles. And that will just easily cut out the middle section and leave me a border. Yeah. See, this would leave me just enough of a border to glue onto here, but it's a little trickier. So if you have trouble with trying to line up things, I recommend, I'm going to use one that's a little bit smaller so I have a bigger edge to work with. Okay, so then I'll have more room to work with. It'll be less tricky. But if you really want to maximize how much gold is left, then you would use a bigger one. So that's totally up to you. It's not visible from the front of the card or in any way that the middle was taken out. But if you're not wanting to do that and you want it just all the layers to sit flat and everything, just use the whole sheet. It's totally up to you. It's just up to you whether or not you want to do that. Okay, so let's cut out the middle of this sheet, and then I'm going to emboss as well. The white mat has to be embossed. So I am just going to line this up to make sure it's in the middle. And let's put this through. My apologies. I should have angled that. So, you know, that's bad snapping sound. You can avoid that snapping sound if you angle the die, because then the entire edge doesn't go through the rollers at the same time, giving that snapping sound. And that makes my camera wobble. I apologize. Okay, so that's that piece. And now I have saved this piece for some other card for another day. And let's get the embossing folder. This is the beautiful pattern embossing folder. And I'm just going to grab my mat here and let's line it up at the top. Okay. Just looking at what layers I need. I believe I need to do these 2 layers. This is not a 3D embossing folder. This is not going through. I always feel scared when I put the embossing folder through when it catches and it doesn't want to move through. I always feel like that's kind of a warning sign to check that you have the right sandwich, and I'm just double checking. I'm pretty sure I do. Okay. It does not say a 3D embossing folder, it's just a regular embossing folder. And this is not going through. Something's weird. Is my brain on the fritz? No, something is off. I'm sure that you in the comments are probably saying, fix this, Karen, and I just don't know what you're saying. It says use with 1 in 3 with standard, you know, when you've been in dance comp mode for several days, and I have been for the last 2 weekends, it's like, I feel like my brain is on the fritz, but I think this is fine. I don't know why it's not going through. This is not going through. Okay, I'm going to try with a 3D embossing folder because I don't understand. It does not want to go through. Okay, it is apparently a 3D embossing folder. I don't know why it doesn't say that on the, doesn't say it on here. Okay, well, there you go. This is a 3D embossing folder. I thought it was like kind of thick. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. That is reality crafting for you. Okay, so when it does not go through, don't try and force it through. Maybe something is wrong. Clearly I figured that out the first time when I made the card, but I didn't actually register it. I must have just assumed it was a 3D embossing folder when I did it the first time. Okay, so now we're going to put this together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to apply, I'm not going to use glue because I find with the gold paper, and this is not Stampin' Up! Gold paper, this is gold paper that I've had in my stash, and it's not super thick, so I find that it wrinkles if I use too much glue. It would probably be okay, but I think what I'm going to do is use tear and tape instead this time. So I'm just going to put tear and tape along the edges. And because I cut a thicker edge, it's actually not going to be a problem with the glue sticking out on the other side, as long as I put it right up against the edge of the paper. Whoops. Okay. And I'm just eyeballing the amount of glue, tear and tape I need here, just by pulling it out and holding it against the paper there. So I think we're good. And I'm just giving it an extra rub with my nail, and that will make sure that the adhesive is stuck onto the paper, and it'll make it actually much easier to pull up those backing strips. If you have trouble with this, then use your take your pick tool to lift the edge, or even a toothpick will help. Okay. Oh, one more. Okay. I'm just going to flip this over, and like I do with glue, with any adhesive, I like to angle it at a 45-degree angle to the paper so that the adhesive doesn't actually stick until I've lined up the sides, the top, and the bottom to see that they have the right amount of space. And then I just start to lay it down gently, and I check the other side as I go. And that helps me get a nice even edge on there. All right. So now we can go ahead and put this down on the card base. I don't love that this corner is not covered. I'm going to go back and put a little more on afterwards. Because it's nothing like, you know, having the corner lift on your design. I'm going to lift this a little bit so that I can get underneath it. Put this next piece on top. There we go. Okay. All right. Again, just rubbing it to make sure the adhesive is on. Okay, let's start with this one. Wow, I thought it was quiet crafting with comments only and not real live people before, but without comments it's even quieter. I can't see any comments. Okay, so again, 45-degree angle to line this up before I actually commit to putting it down. And I think that looks good. Oh, I think it's actually a bit on an angle. I'm hoping I can still fix that. Oh, that is on an angle. It's a little bit on an angle. Reality crafting. And I'm just going to try and adjust that there. I think it's okay. There we go. All right. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a doily underneath all of this, and I positioned it like a diamond shape, and it goes side to side pretty much. It's just the width of this white mat. Let me bring in my original card. Okay, so I just want it peeking out a little bit, and so I'm just going to position it right like that, and I'm going to use my silicone mat to apply some Stampin' Seal. That'll be the easiest way, and anything that any of the glue that sticks to it, you won't be able to see it because you're covering it all up. So I'm just going to apply glue right to the middle section, just to the middle section, not to the edges. Okay. Let's hold this here, and I want it a little closer to the top than to the bottom, so I'm just adjusting. Okay, so it's a little bit gummy in the middle, but that's okay, we're covering it up. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to lay this out so I can see where I'm going to have pieces of the doily sticking out just for accent. I don't want to cover it up completely. And I'm not going to layer the flowers too much. I'm going to try to line it up so that they aren't sitting on top of each other too much. But I don't want the bottom flower to be too close to the bottom, so okay. All right, and then I need my flower petal, sorry, the leaves here. So I think what I did first time is I'm going to actually I'm going to use some glue dots because I want this one to be very slightly higher so I can slide this under the pink one underneath the Melon Mambo. So I'm going to use some glue dots right in the center, which will allow me to still slide in my leaves, right, underneath. So let's use some glue dots. So there's a bunch of glue dots, and they're mainly in the center. And let's place it around here so that I can see a little bit of the doily still peeking out. Okay. And let's stick this one. I'm going to use glue for this one because I want it to be flat. So again, I'm just going to put it right in the middle so that I can still add leaves around it as needed. I'm just going to slide it under just a tad so I can. Okay. All right, so we'll probably put the two big ones. Let's see. Is the same? Not quite. I'm just deciding what order to put these in. Okay. So let's put the one underneath in first. So I'm going to stick some glue on the right side there so that as I slide it in, if the glue moves up, it's fine, right? Because as I slide it in, the glue will probably get pushed up. So okay, and hopefully there's the glue will give us a little bit of time to maneuver the leaves and readjust them before it dries. So I'm just kind of playing around with where I can see the shadowing on the leaves. Okay. And then this one is going to go on first. And like that. And the last leaf. Okay, so there's the majority of the card. Now what I want to do is actually add my sentiment over top. So that'll hide the, hopefully hide the little gap here. Let me just double check. I have this shape to work with, and yes, that will cover it. All right, so I'm going to bring over some black cardstock. Let's see. Oh, I removed this piece. I did not grab black before I started. That's not going to be big enough. Okay, let me grab a bigger piece of black cardstock. Oh, perfect. just use this smaller one here. Okay, I am going to use some Versamark and some white embossing powder to really make it stand out, which is what Mikaela did on her card. She used white embossing powder on black. And that reminds me, I should use the embossing buddy to prevent excess powder from sticking. So you'll see that it leaves kind of a white cast on the black paper, but I will brush it again afterwards, and we'll remove that after. Okay. Let's get the sentiment on the block. So I left it out on top of the case so that it would be easy to pick up. Okay. So I'm going to use my grid paper to line up my sentiment on the block, because I can't see, sometimes the image on the back does not line up with obviously the sticker on the front, which was applied by me. So to make sure that it looks straight, I'm going to line up the image on the back with the edge of the block, which is lined up with my grid paper, and hopefully that will get me a straight image when I go to stamp it. But fortunately we can die cut afterwards, and we can adjust the angle there as well. Okay. Oh, I just need to fold this in half to make it easier to pour out the paper, sorry, the powder afterwards. Okay, and we'll just ink this up with the Versamark, which is a special ink pad that stays, the ink stays sticky, so that the powder will stick to it, the embossing powder. So you can't use a regular ink to do this. Okay, so I have white embossing powder in from my stash. Let's put that on top. I'm just gonna flick it to get, there's a couple spots here. Oh, I have a little bit. Can you see that that is not fully filled in? I'm just gonna, there we go. Now it's fully filled in. All right, let's set that aside, and we'll put the powder back in. Okay, it's going to be a little bit noisy. I'm going to bring my heat gun over, and we're going to heat this up and set the embossing powder. And I'm going to die cut this from the paper, so let's make some room. I'll bring back all the mats. I think it's possibly time for a change, a new mat there. It's been well used. The cutting plate, I mean, not the mat. Okay, so here's my shape, and let's, you know what, before I cut it, I'm just going to take my brush, and I'm just going to brush this off. Hopefully. All right. So let's put this on. I'm just going to line it up with my text. we go. And now we'll put this on here. So I did find that because there's so many layers here, I've used different levels of dimensionals to adhere this. The one for my Mother's Day card, I used different dimensional levels. I actually used like 2 behind the top corner here because it was adhering to the very bottom layer on the white embossed layer. So it was much higher than, let's say over here, where it was right onto the flower. So I just adjust as I see needed, as it's needed. And sometimes I use glue dots for a slightly thinner level, but I think I'll use 1 dot, 1 here in the top right corner. So I'm going to put it on, and I won't take off the backing yet. So let's see how that works. That feels good. And then I'm going to need another one there on the corner, which I think I may, well, I think it's probably going to be okay. I think 1 will be fine. And 1 over here. So I'm just working with it as I go, trying to figure out where my piece should fit. Where I could adjust the heights. So over here in this corner, I'll probably just put a dot of blue, but down here there's a gap, so I'm probably going to put another dimensional there. Now I do want to put on a ribbon, which is going to go behind the sentiment piece. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's take this. And I think I'm gonna maybe let's play around with it before we put it on. Put on a piece like this, maybe. Does that work? Maybe something like that. Okay. So if I cut it like here, okay, let's just fix that. So if I put it on like this, I just want to make sure that my dimensionals are not in the way, because I find that if I stick it onto a dimensional, it's going to make it like it's going to be bumpy in some areas and not bumpy in the other areas. I'm not sure how you other people tackle this, but let me just see how that looks. Okay, that's not going to work out here because you can see the rose is pushing on it, right? I'm going to have to angle it down a little bit more, I think. Okay, so I'm going to put some adhesive right across the middle to hold that when I play around with this, and you can pull the ribbon on and off and readjust as needed when you do this. Okay. And I may have to move my dimensionals so that they are on top of my ribbon instead. So I'm going to do this. Let's see how that looks. I think I want to angle it more. Or maybe I should do it the other way around. It really is too bad I cannot see anybody's comments. I'm sure there are some good suggestions in the comments. Okay, let's try this. How about that? Yeah, I think I like that a bit better. And that actually works with my dimensionals too. But I'm going to cut these shorter. I think it's a bit too long. There we go. Oh, I think that looks better. Okay, so let me just see. Do I need any more dimensionals? I think I need one back here, perhaps. And I'm going to put a spot of blue right there. Okay, let's take off all the backings and then we can finish this card. Okay, so this is where I want it, right here. Oh, I think there's a dimensional there. There we go. I could feel like it was pushing up too high. There we go. And there you go. There are my two cards. One is a Mother's Day card and one is a different card. My thoughts are with you. Could be used for condolence, could be used for somebody who's ill. So yeah, so those are my two cards today. I hope you enjoyed it. I did case it from Mikaela Titheridge of the Crafty oINK pen. Thank you very much. And I changed it up for what I needed to make my card for. So I hope you guys are inspired to pull out some retired and loved sets and repurpose them with new things like the beautiful pattern embossing folder and make something new. So have a great day. Hope you're inspired, and I hope I can join you again next week. Bye.